B-Pod Studios.
Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, and we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. I got lightheaded doing Chase, too. Isn't that funny?
It is.
Isn't that funny? What if I stroke out right now?
Not as funny, but have a certain comedic element to it. Sure, I'm not going to lie.
You know, someone emailed Felger yesterday, and they said, "Hey, you like pretentious Wellesley Newton Nantucketite."
All fair.
Is Newton considered that highfalutin? There's a section that's not so great. It's a very large town too.
Well, other neighborhoods, not the ones you live in, other neighborhoods are considered very well-to-do. Yes.
I mean, it's not inexpensive where I live, but I don't think it's I wouldn't say that I'm rubbing elbows with kings of industry in my town. Mm-hmm. What is Cambridge all a dump, or what is Cambridge considered?
There are nice sections of Cambridge too.
Because I'm reading this book. This lady's a Harvard professor, and everyone running around there is some intellectual. They're MIT people and Harvard people, but then you got Dan there is from a real dump.
Absolutely.
He's from a dump with 1 million kids in it. So make up your mind, Cambridge. Are you nice or not? I can't tell.
No, they all left and went to Newton.
I can't tell you the last time I went to Cambridge. I despise driving to, spending any time in, parking in, doing anything in Cambridge.
No, Boston's not the kind of city that you drive somewhere you just go let's go to this part of town and without any kind of reason. Like you don't just go like in
but there are
other cities I've lived in, you're like let's go to Virginia Highlands or let's go to Buckhead or let's go to let's go to Hamtramck or let's go downtown. You could just on a whim do that. In Boston, on a Saturday, you're not going to go let's go to Harvard Square or Kendall
North
Square.
End, baby.
North End. Jesus Christ.
Easy to get there.
Well, first of all, I'm not driving to the North End under any circumstances. Under any circumstances, am I driving past the Back Bay? It infuriates people. For some reason, it makes them very angry. I'll get where I got to go, but I'm not leaving a $20,000, $30,000 vehicle. Not because I'm afraid it's going to get broken into or stolen, because I don't want the responsibility of parking it and coming back and getting it. I want to be dropped off at my location and left to my own devices.
Avoid the $40 parking fee.
That I can justify the Lyft because I'm banned by Uber for some reason. I can't get on Uber. Oh. They say to call them, and I don't have the time to call them, so I have to use Lyft, which has been fine. Sometimes those guys do both. I don't know if you know it.
Oh, they're Lyft/Uber driver?
I mean, it's a real. I mean, they got their hands in both of the honeypots.
But I used to go to Cambridge a lot, like in the BCN days, because we'd have shows there. We had the Rumble there.
But you had a reason to go there.
And the reason to go there, and like going at night is different. Now, if somebody wants to have lunch or wants to have dinner in Cambridge, I'm like, I'm not doing it.
You can't have lunch in Boston. There's
I'm talking about Cambridge. In Boston,
in Boston, or la-di-da.
Well, take the commuter rail from Canton.
You would do that to have lunch with someone on a Wednesday?
Probably not.
Yeah,
but at least it's not an immediate hard no.
All I know is
I'll go downtown. I'll go to the Back Bay, and if I can ease, like going to North Station,
the train is already too much of a thing. You're on a commuter rail, which is like an Amtrak train. It's too much.
Oh, I love the commuter rail.
I didn't say you shouldn't like it. I'm saying that just to have lunch with someone on a Wednesday. I'm talking about in Atlanta, in Detroit, in Orlando, in these places I've lived. You could on a whim go meet someone on a Wednesday afternoon. Now, the traffic in Atlanta is terrible, but there was something about it's still navigating. You can navigate it. You can't just go into Cambridge. It's too old a city. There were no cars. There's too much time between the advent of the city and cars. That's the problem. There's too much time. You can't establish a city in the 1600s and then expect it to be functioning in 2024.
That's the problem. Boston
All
is
right,
too old.
It is. And first of all, I'll give you. I can give you evidence of it this second. Have you gone down 90 from Brighton into the city?
You mean the Mass Pike? Yeah, I have.
The Mass Pike into the city?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What, you think that land, that whole big swath of city that there's nothing in, that's getting developed. It will be done when you're dead. 2045, I'm not joking. There's a good chance the Wall Man, 21 years from now, is going to be 6 feet under.
I'll be alive. Don't you worry.
Well, you'll be a man of 76.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be old. You'll be
I'll have
older than
grandkids. I'll have grandkids, but I'll still be here.
You don't know if you'll have grandkids.
Oh, absolutely, I'll have grandkids.
Your kids might decide that there's too many of us.
What is the
Like the Fear song
average?
said.
Average male American lifespan, 77.28 years.
I absolutely will
You'll
be
have
here.
dementia. You'll be a burden.
I'll absolutely be here.
You'll be a burden to your children by that point.
I'll be a burden to my wife.
I don't know
not my
about
kids.
absolutely.
My
Your wife's going to be alive? Who's younger, you or your wife?
My wife is younger than me.
Okay, so she will be alive.
Yeah,
She'll
my
be-
wife is 5 years younger
Do you think she'd wipe you like Nick's wife did?
Nope. Nope. She'd pay someone
Did
to
you
do
have
it,
a
but she won't
catheter,
do it.
Nicholas? Yeah, he had a catheter.
Yeah.
I know someone who has to put in their own catheter because they just had a urinary.
You
tract.
told me about that. That creeps me out, man. That's ugh.
Well, he's no fan of it, John.
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't hear
boy.
the man depressed very often, but he is not enjoying his life right now. Man. But I will tell you,
Boston, look, look, I grew up here. I understand the problem. Boston is a big city that's smashed up against the coast.
Yes.
There's no room to go anywhere. It's hard to get downtown. It's hard to get to Cambridge. There's one lane in. There are like 2 roads in and 2 roads out. Traffic is a nightmare. There are more cars trying to get in. It's ridiculous. I understand all of this.
Yeah,
it's
but-
not easy to go anywhere. The only time, and since I moved out
It
to
sounds
the
like
suburbs,
this is all set up some kind of a qualifier, but
no, there's no qualifier. Since I moved out to the suburbs and I live in scenic Natick, Massachusetts, going into Boston is no longer fun. Parking at Fenway Park, driving to a Red Sox game back when I used to
I don't
do
even
that
count
kind of
Fenway
thing.
Park as a city.
See, to me, going to Fenway is no big deal.
Yeah, I
Really?
like going to
Okay.
Fenway.
I
Yeah.
won't. I'll park in Brooklyn.
I don't
won't park.
I
near
don't
the
park
ballpark.
at Fenway. Are you
No.
nuts? I no.
But
I
getting
I
in
take
there
a-
is hard.
I
Sitting
take
on
a
the
lift.
Pike, sitting on the
I don't
pike,
have to take
getting
the pike
in from the western suburbs.
That's in
very
Newton.
difficult.
In Newton, I just take Route 9. You silly goose.
Yeah, I know.
Why don't you take the Green Line?
I have.
Yeah.
But if sometimes because all right, so I have to walk to it, which is
Yeah.
like it's not a big deal, but it's like three-quarters of a mile. And if I have my kids, my son, it's just easier to get a lift. I don't mind getting a lift. It's a $25 ride. It's $50 round trip.
Back
now I
then.
might have to haggle with the cab to get home. It's not always that easy.
No, when you live closer to the city, it's easier.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so to be honest with you, the $60 to get to and fro total to go to the game is not. I mean, if you're going to a Red Sox game, you've probably invested a lot more into the game than the $60.
The tickets have already set you back. You're not worried about
And
it.
by the way, if the lift is $60, as John said, the parking there is $60, $70. So, and
Yeah.
by the way, and then when I went with Rucker, he's like, I know where to park.
Oh,
I
remember
told
this.
you we parked in Washington Square.
I know. Tell him about that story. That's what, Rucker was fantastic. That
So
day,
Rucker,
apparently.
knew every little angle of the city, but
I
Fenway.
know this place at BU. We'll park over at BU.
Well, because Fenway, but I mean, I've lived here since 2006. Fenway's unrecognizable. The area around Fenway obviously is completely changed.
Yep.
So Rucker hadn't been in radio since BCN or whatever the sports hub. He hadn't been in radio for like 10 years. So when he was last like the street team guy, like the promotions guy, he knew like where to park the van and stuff. So he goes like, dude, don't worry. I'm like, dude, I met him in Watertown. I'm like, I don't want you to drive to the game. Like, can we please just take a lift? I'll pay for it.
Right.
You know, if it's $30, and he grew up in a country club. I don't know his money situation with the cash bar at his wedding. So, which I'll never let him forget. It was a destination wedding with a cash bar.
Oh, that's a terrible, terrible thing to do to people.
I don't know why you would do that. And we were young, too. It's not like there was no one not drinking. Like, everyone was drinking except for the Chach man. So, we goes, what is this, cash bar? I ain't having a sip. I got screwed. I didn't get any stock options. So, he goes, I'm gonna park. He goes, dude, don't worry, I'm going to park right. I'll park right, but dude, I know where to park. Yeah. We drove around. I'm not kidding you, Hardy. I'm not kidding. With the traffic in the hospitals and then being in
going through
Brookline, an hour. Yeah. An hour around Fenway.
Sure.
And then we ended up parking. We parked, in fairness, Coolidge Corner. We parked next to the Coolidge Corner clubhouse.
Yep.
And walked.
Oh, that's 25-minute walk.
No. Walked to Beacon Street, and then took the Green Line.
Okay.
Which the Green Line from Coolidge Corner to Fenway Park is probably 0.2 miles, and has 87 stops.
Yeah. You should have walked. Would have been quicker.
I understand, but that's what we did, and so I drove from Watertown to Coolidge Corner to take the T. Into the thing.
That's a rookie move. You got to get on a Beaconsfield further up Comm Ave. That's a lot. Beacon Street. It's much easier.
So
meanwhile, Rucker, who knows all the places to park, the street team. But do you know how many parking tickets those street team vehicles got over the years? Thousands. And it's different when you're parking a radio station vehicle because you can pretty much just pull up in front and they're like, oh, this is here on some kind of, media business. Sure. But even then they would get tagged. So no, there's no place to park.
Yeah.
I still don't mind going to Fenway though, because
I don't mind going to Fenway.
That's fine. I don't mind going to the Garden. That's
I don't mind going to the Garden either.
That's commuter rail, Orange Line, North Station. It's easy.
I don't take I won't take the train to the Garden, but I will take. But it hasn't been so bad recently getting out. I don't know. It can be bad. It can be. I don't like the Garden. I'm a little more hesitant to go to. Fenway, I'll go. If you just ask me during the day, I'll go. All right, I'll go.
To me, it's mostly Cambridge and Seaport. If you say Seaport, I'm like,
I was at the Seaport. I was at the Seaport Saturday.
Was that fun? Was that fun getting down there?
Well, we ate at 4:30. It was fun.
Oh, okay. See, going downtown, going to the Garden is much more difficult. I used to have those spots over by the hospital on Blossom Street that used to be real easy to park there, and then they renovated the whole area and took away all my parking spots.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is that there's no. Listen, you can tell me 85 different ways that you can't understand why I won't drive down there and have the responsibility of the vehicle, and I just don't know what to tell you. I don't want the responsibility, and if I was down to my last couple bucks, I would spend it not to have to park down in the city. I just can't stand it. I don't know how you get around the financial district. I don't know how people drive in. I know people that commute into the financial district. I have no idea.
I lived down there for the first 3 months I lived in Boston. I lived right at India and School, I think, if that's an intersection. But like right near the Marriott Custom House.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was right down there, like a block away from Faneuil Hall, but in the financial district.
Cheap.
So I learned how to drive around there, and I can. I could still do it, but I won't. I'm not driving down in the financial district.
I've told this story a million times, but my dad in like 1971 had a job offer in Pittsburgh. He was living in New York City with my mom. He had a job offer. Now, they lived in New York City. They're both from New York. They're not rubes, right? They both lived in New York City. They met on Fire Island. Heterosexual couple.
Hey, how about that?
And so they at Fire Island, two sides of the island. And so they go, and he has a job offer in Boston and Pittsburgh. They're both about the same pay. So he goes to Boston, and he went to Dartmouth, so he was familiar with coming to Boston. And he goes to Boston, and he goes, like, I'm never, ever going to live there. He's like, why would I ever move here? He goes, it's too confusing. And so he goes, they moved to Pittsburgh, and that's where I was born. My father put it in my mom and let it fly. And then out came Freddie T in Mount Lebanon Hospital, January 16th, 1975.
That's hot.
Right around when Martin Luther King was born. Two great men.
Freedom fighter.
It ain't no coincidence, baby. On this leap year. All right. Well, there you go. That was a local yokel. I didn't know something happened until yesterday. It happened over the weekend, but it was all any national radio was talking about. Literally all that. Say I listened to 2 hours of sports talk radio yesterday. Anything that was national, it was 90% of the conversation, and it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous conversation, but then we need to have it because now I'm fascinated by it. I went from going, what's going on, to being fascinated by it, because people have very hard, fast opinions on this. You won't believe what it is in just a moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
It's the all-new way for you to wake up. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. And Hardy, this is all I heard yesterday as I was driving around. A lot of commotion. You know, the college sport's not so big here in Massachusetts, but I think that we've all watched, them before. So what happened, Hardy, if you could fill people in?
Well, there are 2 incidents that have taken place in recent months. One was last month when Caitlin Clark, the Iowa college basketball phenom, shaken up but not injured in a collision with fans who had stormed the court after Iowa had lost to Ohio State 192. The most recent incident happened after Duke star Kyle Filipowski was run into by Wake Forest fans who came onto the floor after the 83-79 win over the Blue Devils, and this was on Saturday. So this is 2 incidents, obviously nationally televised games of home fans storming the court after getting a big win over a visiting opponent, and the visiting player is collided with by fans storming onto the court.
Right. So you would go, okay, I've seen that a million times, and the guy got bumped into on the court.
Yes.
And so you say, okay, now let's move on with life. But no, yesterday, I got to drive around a lot Monday through Wednesdays, and I got the radio on, and when I'm not listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub, I'm listening to national people, and there's this huge debate. What to do, society? Society's been thrown a curveball, and Jay Billis, who is not only a lawyer but went to Duke and played basketball, so he's a trifecta of fun. Here is Jay Billis.
The administrators will tell you that security experts tell them that it's not a good idea to try to stop the courts.
All right, this is not at all what I wanted.
Oh.
Nicholas. I wanted him saying how they should arrest them all.
There are 11...
The administrators will tell you that security experts tell them that it's not a good idea to try to stop the court storming, that could cause more problems than it would solve. But you don't have to stop the court storming. One time, all you have to do is once they're on the court, don't let them off.
All right.
Oh, this is it.
I was just sorry, Nicholas. I apologize.
This is it.
All right.
Okay, don't let him off. What do you mean?
I reacted to he repeats himself. All right, so here is what I apologize. This is what I wanted.
I love this setup. Don't let him off the court. Whatever do you mean?
Here we go. Because the part that we don't have that's not a big deal is that he goes like, I know what's going to happen. We're going to have this discussion, and then we're just going to forget about it. You know what? That's what you say after a school shooting. That's what you say after, like, a mass gun thing, right? Like, he says it's not fair to Nick. He didn't know I wanted. I should have told him. But, like, he goes, Billis goes, like, I know what's going to happen. He's like, we're going to talk about it today, and then we're just going to forget about it. Which is, you want to really cheapen a narrative? Take a narrative that's used for, like, mass gun violence and then put it to kids storming a court in basketball. You pretentious douchebags. This really is... I'll let it play, and then I'll give you my opinion.
The administrators will tell you that security experts tell them that it's not a good idea to try to stop the court storming, that could cause more problems than it would solve. But you don't have to stop the court storming. One time, all you have to do is once they're on the court, don't let them off. Just say, you're all detained. and give them all citations or arrest them if you want to. And then court stormings will stop the next day.
Okay, so here is if your theory is in Wilbon said the same thing, that you got to arrest everyone and how it's unacceptable, but then he went on to say he used to storm the court at Northwestern. So he would have. All right, so you've any annoyance, anything where anything can slightly go astray. Is this huge national problem, and B needs to be crime and justice. It's a certain mentality of thinking that is, as I get older, is becoming fascinating to me. There's this slight nuisance, so I'm going to treat it like a major deal. Like, I don't know, school shootings, and a guy from Duke got bumped into. And so now this is the world's biggest.
Now it's a national.
Now this
tragedy.
is the world's biggest problem,
right?
And so you say that, and then you go like arrest everyone. So that's one thing. And number two is, what kind of entertainment environment did you grow up in? These are college basketball players. They're ostensibly students of the university, so their peers are running on the court. The kids their own age, kids that they are supposed to be going to class with. Like, there's not supposed to be that big a difference. I'll give you an example. The attraction of a punk rock show, that when the reaction to 70s arena rock, where there was a big blockade and security guards in front of the stage and the audience was separate from the band, the punk rock band said, we're no different than you. We're around the same age, same income level. You feel free. You get up to the stage. You can come on the stage if you want to. That's sort of the feeling of the difference between a professional basketball game, where they're professionals, hired guns out there for an audience, and students that go to the same school and are of the same age as the people playing the game.
All right, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
You may.
It is not the peers of and the classmates that are getting run into. It's the opposing player, and there is a bit of a that's the enemy type of person that's trying to just get out of there. The home team is there celebrating with the fans. You know, and even though they may want to go to the locker room, they're not in, quote unquote danger, as Caitlin Clark, who she got spun around.
Boy, the Duke coach is a real pussy.
But they
just showed it.
To your original point, Fred, you're talking about collegiate athletes. I think Filipowski or anyone else who is playing big time college basketball can probably handle himself getting through a crowd of a couple hundred much smaller people just to get to the locker room that is the sideline of the court, which is 30 feet away.
Here, how about this? How about you're not allowed to assault someone under any circumstances, and B, if you're so concerned about it, have security by the visiting bench in lieu of a court storm, and protect the 15 players getting off the court, and instead of trying to legislate and arrest thousands of kids or hundreds of kids.
That citation idea was really good. We'll give them a citation. That's going to deter everybody.
Or how about it's such a big problem that you're handling it like we can't figure out terrorism or mass gun violence. And this is the issue that you have, that Filipowski got bumped into. A 7-foot, 250-pound kid got bumped into by a bunch of drunk college kids. This is your big issue with all the problems in the world. This is the thing that you really care about. And Wilbon's like, there's going to be a tragedy one day. There's going to be a tragedy.
All right.
So by the way, people got to understand things can happen. You want to have protections in place for real world problems. This is not like something where security experts are going to be like having their head in their hands because one day someone fell and hit their head. I mean, let's be honest. You can't legislate everything in society.
The outrage originally was because everyone thought Filipowski was seriously hurt. That was the original story. Filipowski hurts knee. Turns out he's just fine. But that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Everyone's now all over college kids for acting irresponsibly, when in reality, there hasn't been a major injury. These guys, including Caitlin Clark, have gotten off the floor with a couple of bumps and bruises. And the other part of it is, if you're Caitlin Clark and Iowa made the women's national championship game last year, or if you play for Duke, every game you lose on the road, this is what is going to happen because you're so damn good. I don't understand where the outrage comes from. And I also don't understand the lack of a mention that everybody is fine. All these athletes are fine. Yes, they got bumped into. Yes, it was probably a massive inconvenience for them because they have to wade their way through hundreds, if not 1,000 people to get off the floor. But it's really, really not a big deal.
No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. And it's easily just get security to let the team off the floor. When you see that a team's losing in an upset on the road, you got to protect 15 guys. It's not the end of the world. It's not hard. I mean, it's
just the idea, though,
of detaining.
We don't have enough security to stop them. But here's what we do have: we have the ability to prevent any of those people from leaving and write them all a citation.
Yeah, the citation thing's the best.
And by the way, when you go into like a BC basketball game, you go through like a metal detector and everything. Like you go through security. Like it's not like you supposedly don't have a weapon on you. Like they already protect for all that. And I don't know what the difference between being on the court or being in the stands if you have a weapon is. I mean, there's so many dangers in the world. Well, how about you worry about like a bomb in the building, or you worry about like sniper fire? Like, why don't you worry about something like that instead of getting bumped into?
I was actually at BC when they beat Duke, and there was a court storm a couple of years ago. And you know what? No one got hurt.
No, because it happens all the
Students
time.
rushed the floor. They partied for about 5 or 10 minutes, and they got off the floor, and everyone walked away, and it was fine.
Are all these people that opposed to like any fun, like anything where anything could possibly? You could get hurt playing basketball,
and
so ban basketball. By the way, then ban football. What's more likely to happen? Some kid getting hurt in a football game, or kids storming the court? If everything you can get hurt on should be banned, and football is unnecessary, it's completely unnecessary. Well, it makes money. Well, that's unnecessary. What would you give up all your money for your kids to be healthy? Would you give up every cent you had? If your kid was sick and you could make them well, and it took all your money, you would give it up. So you can't give me money as a reason. There's really no reason for kids to be playing football. They can get hurt. But yet here we are throwing money at it and going to the games. You're far more likely to get hurt playing in the game of basketball. But that's what they're there to do, is play in the game of basketball. Well, it's unnecessary. It's no more necessary than storming the court. None of it has to happen. I mean, you pick and choose these things, and it's like this whole, oh, well, we're going to just not do anything about it. You are cheapening a message that is used after real problems, real tragedies, school shootings, things of that nature. That's when that comes up. Well, we're not going to do anything about it. We're just going to have this conversation. That's the exact same thing. You're comparing it to storming a court and bumping into a player. It's ridiculous.
And let me tell you something. You said, it's fun for the kids. You ask any of those kids who have actually, stormed a court or stormed a field, if you ever did it just that one time, it's great. It's a memory that sticks with you forever. One time I did it, and it wasn't even on the home court. It was on the visiting field. It was 1990, Michigan State at Michigan.
Oh.
Michigan State had no business winning that game. Michigan goes for a 2-point conversion to try and win it. Michigan State wins 28-27. And there's a bunch of State fans went down onto the field there in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. Nobody stopped us. No danger of anything. It's like, that's great. That's something you're supposed to be able to do in college. You can't do it in the pros.
So,
I don't expect anybody to do it in the NBA.
Anyone
write
you a citation?
No.
Okay.
They're supposed to be your peers. And by the way, and then Wilbon was like, I remember one time, he couldn't even remember the game, like a field goal post went down. Oh, you remember one time in the history of sport, a field goal post came down? You're not allowed to pull them down anymore. See, that's the thing, is that could hurt someone. So they made it so you can't do it. Marino, go ahead.
Hey, guys, how are you? I just want to say here, I think there's a lot of unnecessary disrespect going toward John Shire's way. I'm not sure what you guys expect him to say when one of his guys, one of his best players, one of his closest friends is going down in a very unnecessary
The coach
moment.
is best friends with the player?
No, not best friend, but, they're close. They're close.
Well, you
They're
would
close.
call him friends, a coach? I mean, he's
So,
an adult
and-
and he's a kid.
And I have mixed opinions on this, and I just want to bring back a memory. I'm not sure what year it was, but I remember there was one court storm specifically at the Boston Garden when Larry Bird just started knocking guys out that came near him because he was so nervous about getting hit. I want your guys' thoughts on if court storming could go that direction and one of these kids could end up making a real big mistake and one of the players can end up making a big mistake. Thanks, guys. Love the show. Have a good one.
Well, all right.
No, you storm the court, man. It's on you.
It's on you. And
You get not, and I remember the Celtics won a championship in the Garden at the Garden, and the fans went nuts back in the 80s.
Well, you're not allowed to do it anymore.
And Bird was trying to get back to the locker room and forearmed a poor guy in the face.
Reggie Jackson, when he's running around the bases in
That's
the
right.
70s at
Yep,
the World
after a
Series,
home run, yep.
nailed a guy. Yeah, you're allowed to
No,
protect
you
yourself.
go out on the field. It's on you.
Yeah, you get on the court and you bump into a kid and he throws a punch and hits you in the head. Then you got hit in the head, and you get hit in the head. Then you're hit in the head. You can't legislate everything away. If you run on the court and if you run on the court and jump up and down in place, chances are 99.999% of the time that nothing's going to happen. But if you run and start manhandling some 7-foot kid and he throws an elbow and it whacks you in the nose, then you got whacked in the nose, and then your nose heals and you move on, and then life goes on. You can't legislate everything away. Every little problem can't be legislated away. And when I was calling the Duke coach a pussy, it was more the spastic way he ran on the court. You got to be able to handle yourself at times like that. You can't be sitting there all crooked mouth, running around grabbing at people. That's like when Van Gundy grabbed the leg of.
That was during a brawl. That was that. I forget who it was.
Yeah, he grabbed. It was the coach of the Knicks.
Dan's right. It was Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah, he grabbed Alonzo Mourning's
Yes.
leg, and it looked like a fly on a buffalo.
Yes.
It was like
That's right.
It was not good.
God, he's literally on the floor.
You got to
holding
know
onto his
you're
ankle.
on. You got to know you're on camera
Yeah.
at that point. You got to be. You can't be running around all spazzy. You got to be cool, calm, and collected. And if I'd have more respect for the Duke coach if he just got into a boxing stance and just nailed a kid in the face.
On guard.
Yeah, exactly.
Hold on, let
Rather
me
than just helter-skelter swinging his
my
arms.
handlebar mustache.
Well, I'll tell you, if he would have just bowed up and got in a protective position and laid a kid out, I would have been cool for the Duke coach. Instead of spazzing around, throwing his arms all over the place, calm the F down.
By the way, that game, I think the caller was referencing 84 championships, Lakers. There was an incident where somebody went up to Kurt Rambis, and this was there's a story in the Herald printed about 17 years ago now. I just found it, where the guy went up and tugged on Rambis's jersey. Rambis turned around and punched the guy in the face.
Yeah.
And he ended up suing Kurt Rambis over it. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
They settled the lawsuit in 1987.
Oh, Jesus.
I won't say the guy's name, but he wouldn't say for how much, but he said for some pocket change. That is the ultimate, and I've said it before about whether it was LeGarrette Blount punching a player or whether it was Marcus Smart back in the day in college, punching a fan. You're trying to elicit a reaction from these players. You got one. It's not the one you wanted,
right?
But you got a reaction.
This isn't a video
So
game.
get it.
This is a guy who's much bigger than you.
Yeah,
And
you got your reaction.
And you
Now
know
you're
what?
gonna
It's
sue the
fine.
guy?
It's fine. And you know what? I guarantee you the guy had paid more in legal fees to sue Kurt Rambis than he got in a settlement. And I guarantee Kurt Rambis didn't have to pay $1 to defend himself. I'm sure Jerry Buss took care of that. And it went through the court system and no one died. And even if you do die, you're going to die anyway. And so there's really not, we've spent so much time running around ignoring
Not until
it.
you're 77. Though.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, things happen. And it's just the way that it is. It's inevitable, people. No matter what you do. We're only going to talk about it today, and now we're just going to forget about it. And focus on less important things.
Yeah, what are we going to do? Just forget about it? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what we should
After
do.
you get your citation.
That's right.
Yeah, after you keep 1,000 kids in the court.
You're the best.
It's all that's on sports. It's all that's on Sports Center. They all got something to say about it. All right, we'll be back.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
It's the all-new Toucher and Hardy.
Whatever, man.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, this hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And one more thing I thought of when we were in break is that, what are you, concerned about Duke kids running on the court? Bunch of pussies. Jazzy Duke fans and stupid face paint, they're going to hurt you? Like superfan kid is going to be a big problem?
No, it was the Wake Forest hooligans.
Yeah, that
you got to worry about.
Yeah. There's nothing as dangerous as a hyped up college kid at a matinee game. They're all, and I said before, drunk, and I'm going to even say that most of them aren't. I mean, these are like the good kids that go to the games. Those are like good kids. They're like nice, like they're in the band and stuff. They're like Johns. They're like Wallachs.
Right. They're not the ne'er-do-wells sitting in their dorm rooms, smoking their marijuana cigarettes, listening to Beatles records, and bad-mouthing their country.
They're not wearing berets and reading poetry and taking LSD.
What's wrong with the Beatles? Counterculture? Is that
Yeah, they were a real problem. You weren't going to walk around and tell me not to hold a hand. I'm going to hold your hand was the original lyric, and then I had to get consent. I want to hold your hand. Because at first, John, he was a wife beater. So he goes, I'm going to hold your hand. And Paul said, don't do that.
Yeah, if you ever really
You got to get a big sandwich.
Yeah, if you ever really want to make Chachi angry, bring up John Lennon's first wife.
Oh, don't even look into it. It's all her say.
Okay.
Her say instead of his say. John, if you want to hold the hand with a dagwood, you're going to need two. Because they're big.
Cold Cuts McCartney, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a classic.
In honor of Chachi's friends, Deli/Beatles Museum.
It's too big, the sandwich.
It's too big. You need to put an olive on the toothpick and stick it in the sandwich. That's Bill Cosby. Cold Cuts McCartney. You got to take the thing and go the sandwich.
Bill Cosby, in his first major role back from all of his troubles, is going to play Cold Cuts McCarthy.
That's right.
Go.
Cold Cuts McCartney imitating Bill Cosby. That's a new one.
Ringo, you got the thing in Theo with the two, and you made the.
That's it.
Theo, you got to go to college. You're not going to be able to support yourself.
Wow.
Theo, I want to have a hoagie, but Claire keeps coming in to stop me, and she says, "My pleasure to see you. I just want to have a hoagie, because I'm from Philadelphia, and I like the hoagie, and I got a big track meet, Claire. I'm old."
See, the project only comes together when you get to casting, and this is why this has languished for years. Nobody wanted to do anything with Cold Cuts McCarthy. Now that we have someone to actually play the role other than Fred, get a big name star attached, Bill Cosby as Cold Cuts McCarthy.
Claire, you're going to be singing it over there at Spelman?
Hillman.
Well, Spelman's is Hillman even a real school?
No.
Okay, we didn't want to give too much press to a real school. I made the chili that makes everyone super horny.
Oh, I thought that was the barbecue sauce.
The barbecue sauce, rather. Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yes.
Hey.
Was Gordon Gartrell a real sweater designer?
No, but you could jam it on the one. Hey, you want to go in the studio and see a boring jazz guy? We're going to let him play for far too long.
By the way, you brought up the track meet. That was an entire episode.
That was an entire
episode. Running around the track.
And I'm going to...
Tailwind Turner gives him a call at the beginning of the episode, and away we go.
This is only John and I. I'm going to wear really gray sweatpants. I'm going to wear an official sweatsuit.
I'm going to run behind the
one.
bleachers and not emerge again.
I'm going to wear a sweatshirt, the kind of sweatsuit that they would give you in prison. Gray on gray sweatsuit.
And what would you say at a party? Jamming
on the one.
Jamming.
That's how we wrote. That's how I wrote yesterday. I
Right.
said, you know what? Left hand on the keys, jam it on the one.
That's right.
While my right hand tickles over here.
And what would you say at a party?
Jam it on the one.
And then they brought Rudy in. Didn't she do some kind of giraffe sound or something like that?
Yeah,
They made
Rudy.
that part of it.
Oh, Rudy. She got over too quick. We had to bring in the other one.
That's right.
We had to bring in an even younger child to keep the momentum.
See, now it's too much Paul again. It's Bill Cosby as Paul McCartney.
Okay. Hey.
There it is.
Right, we're just some kids in a junkyard in Philadelphia with the thing and the how do you do? And 12 says, Chachi starting to cold cut to McCartney, best segment ever. I concur. It was the greatest. All right, we will be back. We will revisit one of the true tragic moments in radio history.